Live now, sir.
Oh, okay.
And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning into a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have an incredible guest with us today, one who's going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than our brother, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. How are you doing, sir?
I'm well, my brother. Glad,
Yes.
I'm to be on with you today.
Yes, sir. The honor is ours, sir. And I just want to, first of all, people from all over the country, when I told them I was interviewing you, they all said they want to be tuned in. So we can't wait to put this on YouTube. How are you doing? What are you doing right now currently with all of the love from the communities all across the country that you've been receiving? How are you doing since the release of the movie about your father?
Well, we are at the party. One of the axioms of the Panther Party we're seizing the time. Grabbing this momentum, this energy. The good, actually the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because let us be clear, these are intense times. So a lot of times, people get involved in struggle one of three ways: inspiration, aspiration, or desperation. And so we're attempting to seize the time. As we say, hold the line, be consistent. In regards to recognize this is a protracted struggle. It's not an overnight thing. Certain conversations that people are able to engage in now. Just you mentioned the movie, just even in regards to, even the mention Chairman Fred's name, the Black Panther Party. We just came off yesterday. A pre-Chairman Fred Streets party. This is a prelude to the upcoming annual Chairman Fred Streets party, which is his birthday, August 30th, he was born August 30th, 1948. So we have, and this is an annual event that we do every year. So, however, this year in particular, we have added dynamic to it, that being that the house he grew up in has been given historical landmark status. And just try to, we keep right on. I want to say clench fists to the people. A lot of people saying, they pull up and say, "All right, congratulations to you." I say, this is a people's victory. I tend to be as objective as we can. With the attacks as well as our victories. I say, you never hear me say that the police killed my father, but you will hear him say the U.S. government assassinated Chairman Fred. And this does not negate him from being my father, but it puts in the overall blow that this government, delivered to the Black Power movement, the attack on our people. Again, put in objective context, and that's imperative for a number of reasons. It's like kind of this thing in boxing. You just can't take that hit. You got to spread that pain around it. So we say the people's pain reflects, and so also again, so to put it in context, because I said though the government said my father, Chairman Fred, in a blatant way, which was really due to the organized and due to the politics of the Panther Party, was able to bring, for lack of better terms, the pus out of the sore to be clear that it was the government. Because there were many attempts prior to the straight-out assassination, December 4th, 1969. In which Chairman Fred and Amara Clark were assassinated. There were attempts with the U.S. government, the infamous COINTELPRO letters, where they sent letters to the Blackstone Rangers, then on Blackstone Rangers. The attempts, there's a book up on Madison down on 75th Street by John L. Rice, that talks about how the federal government approached such organizations, the vice lords, and told them they would get them a certain portion of the West Side if Chairman Fred was unable to open a free medical center. And there were attempts when he was in prison. The government tried to have him assassinated, but they were forced to come out, with the uniforms on, and do they did December 4th, 1969. And so we correlating that time, we were seizing the time with that. So I know I can't touch on a few things, but just go to the heart of your question. We are, as what Chairman Fred said, we are too proletarian, revolutionary, intoxicated to be astronomically intimidated. In other words, we have the people, man. And don't let me romanticize this. It's some it's highs and lows. It's highs and lows. I dare not to the romantic. Even with the campaign to say the Hampton House. that my memory banks still have the occasions with we were in there freezing cold, no heat, you know what I'm saying, no water, law enforcement kicking the doors in while we were there. So and even agent provocateurs being sent to disrupt the work. So it's highs and lows, but you know what I'm saying. But again, we still swimming. They ain't drowned us. We still swimming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And people are showing you love all across the country. My sister Miriam says, peace, family. And I can't wait to put this on YouTube. And once we put it on YouTube, please let us know what city you're watching it from. How, growing up with the name Fred Hampton Jr., what was it like growing up with that name?
I said a number of occasions, a blessing and a burden, a blessing and a burden. But let me premise with this, I'm honored. I do poetry, and I forget. I said in the poem one time. I may be paraphrasing myself, but a lot of people want to know, how does it feel to be sired by you, to be loved by the people but sweated by the who. So the people, even when it's when there's like a trauma victim, the way that Chairman Fred, the way Defense Head Lamar Clark was assassinated, it was done in a strategic way to send a message of terror to terrify the masses. And there's a Maywood, in which we grew up at, is practically 21 blocks. And there are people who still to this day, I just even opened up discussions about who he was. I just went to a reunion for his high school he attended, Proviso East, and met some of his classmates. And it was they were open. Someone, when they saw me, just to be able to open up and talk about. One sister talked about it was an uprising in the school, and she remembered him pushing her literally pushing her aside, pushing her to the bathroom, getting her out of harm's way. And this is inspiring, so to hear this. They say when you raise a horse, orphan horse is the most difficult horse to raise, because it's unable to see different things on, like how to walk. So I'm constantly learning about the legacy of Chairman Fred. I recall as a child, when I was speaking, initially I would try to hold my hands down, try to stop my hands from moving. When I saw video footage of speaking, you still? Are you okay?
Yes, I can see you.
Yes, sir. When I saw video footage of him speaking, I was encouraged. I said, "Oh, okay, this how it's supposed to go." And just even war stories, if you will, in certain situations. In fact, one of the prisons, one of the concentration camps I was in, was the infamous Menard. I was there in 1999, and Chairman Fred was there in 1969, and I had some of the prisoners that was there when he was there, and to the point that they had given me the name Deja Vu, by being here before. And I recall even being placed in North Seg. When I first got there, there was an attempt on my life. The warden, the guards, prison guards, attempted to have me assassinated when I first got there to Menard Prison. With later other prisoners that told me the details, how they had certain guards on the gun tower, and they was going to stage the situation with me. But I didn't bite. I studied the situation, and I was a warden page. It came, and they took me to Seg for having a Chicago Sun-Times news clipping about Chairman Fred. They said it was gang activity. And they took me to Seg, and I remember being in Seg, and brothers downstairs saying, he's here, he's upstairs. And different brothers asking me, man, where you at, Chairman? I'm telling them. They said, whoa, that's the big chairman. That's where he was at. What gallery you on? I think it was 7 Gallery. And they said, what cell you in? I said, well, you know what? We're going to stop this conversation now, because it's kind of getting like real close. If they told me I was in the same cell, I don't know what happened, but and it's sometimes, like it's inspiration, but sometimes you got to take a breathe. Like when I first heard I was going to Menard, it kind of stuck with me, about the correlation. I've been in police stations where young police in Chicago, they would ask one time situation about 7, 8 of us last name Hampton. So the younger police come say, which one is related to the Hampton? And the older police came in the file cabinet, and he put the pictures of like a fresh photo of Chairman Fred, and he put it to our faces. I think I was the third person. He said, "Your man right there." So I did not romanticize it. He comes with it also.
Yes, sir. Well, I want to thank you on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast for your sacrifice and for your standing 10 toes down in the struggle of the liberation and the salvation of our people all across the country, sir. We thank you for your sacrifice, sir. Go ahead, sir.
No, I'm honored and humbled to serve, and that's what I was going to get this out real. Give a shout out to brother Love, who this kind of goes into the last question. I'm coming down. I'm headed to the Hampton house. This is why I just met the brother who connected me with you, and from the side, I'm riding, and from the side, him and his daughter, and they look and they see, and he says, "That him?" He says, "Chairman Fred Hampton." Yes, and I come right to the Hampton, and he comes down. And later on, we were talking, connecting with you. He came by the pre-Chairman Fred street party event at the Hampton House, which is in Maywood. But that even alone, not only for the morale boost, but a particular security question. You know what I'm saying? I can't, for people, and I don't want to take that for granted, because mind you, we have to do a lot of damage control with this system. They hold up, entertainers and stuff like that for the face to be recognized. But on the battlefield, we have to recognize, who's forces in so many cases. When I've been, I thought pulling over by myself with the police around. And I tell people all the time, they say, I mean, something said one day, she say, man, you gotta I get your schedule, you gotta go get another second test. I say, I know I'll be running so many, even security. One of my central committee, my field marshal, he wanted to raise criticism when we say, "Chairman, you say out of security, you hop up, you want to do these moves on the pivot, and security want to stick in, gotta be on you all the time." I say, it's kind of like when Tupac came out. They say Tupac went through all these producers. They say Dr. Dre, DJ, he had so much to get out, so I said, moving fast. But again, the people are our best security, and I appreciate that. And again, I'm honored and humbled to serve the people, man. Honored and humble.
Yes, sir. Okay. Now, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., my next question for you, sir, and thank my sister Naima says peace, and people are showing you love all across the country. My next question for you, sir, is I played against Proviso East because I went to school in Naperville, so we played against Proviso East. I didn't know the connection to your father, but growing up in Chicago and in the suburbs of Chicago and Naperville, my family is very connected, and we always upheld your father through lectures and studying him through before YouTube, but through hearing his speeches and knowing the case. But the movie, Judas and the Black Messiah, took it on a whole nother level. How did it personally impact you? Do you think that it did a great representation of your father and your family?
Let me put it in context. There were a number of attempts, you know what I'm saying, and there have been a number of unauthorized narratives about Chairman Fred, Black Panther Party, and there was, a lot of people say, I talk about one of the war stories and the impact of my life. About 12 years old, there was an attempt to do a book on Chairman Fred, and the narrative was it really upheld the police. It was one of those cold winters. One of those cold winters in which there was no heat, and the gas was cut off in our household. In fact, the same house I'm in right now. I grew up in, and I recall asking my mother. I said, "Well, if this was to happen, with that, I ain't say translate, but I said, would that equal? Do they come out to the gas, the heat being turned back on?" And she took a principal stance. It's a no-go. You know what I'm saying? She went comrade as a legacy. Even under contested conditions, where there were other people, other family members who, who they took a position. Other people that may have been in or around the party. Their position was, just go get a bag before these youngsters start saying get a bag. But she held the line, and so even down the road, that in particular stuck with me. And excuse me. There were different movies, and whether it be nefarious intent or naivety, time, and like politics is like real estate, time and location, all this imperative. And I'm learning more and more about a lot of people's not really understanding what the Black Panther Party was, you know, and the time is to be right, you know what I'm saying? And then when we had got first word about this discussion about what came out to be Judas and Black Messiah, you know, initially we didn't, you know, give the attention because I'm real careful with that, because a lot of times people they're talking about doing something and then they get the word, oh no, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it was Forrest Whitaker was talking about doing something at first before the butler, and some members of the Panther Party say, hey man, his son don't play. You know, so they will, and so they went somewhere else. A lot, it's like a relationship. Some people say, man, hold on, you better get yourself together before you approach this sister. You know, so,
yes sir, yes sir, yes
I'm
sir.
to go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? It's checks and balances. You know, and so there's a lot of discussion with people. So we said, well, we was hearing little rumblings about it. It's okay, we'll see if it's fade out. You know, what's the case? So start getting a little more, you know, a little more light to it, a little more weight to it, you know. So we hear a word about, you know, different people who said to portray Chairman Fred. So, you know, since we put out the calls, we had to meet with people, you know. And a lot of people saying, you know, that's not how Hollywood, actually operates. So I say, all due respect, I'm from, you know, I grew up in Inglewood, I'm not from Hollywood, you know what I'm saying? So it's checks and balance with this legacy, you know. So we back and forth. Subsequently, you know, we met at the Hampton house. I don't know, you know, brother Jesse. He was there also too. Brother, he's in Nation. Jesse FX. He was there also because it came through, and so we met with Daniel at the house. Daniel Kaluuya, who subsequently played Chairman Fred. Dominique Fishback. You know, I called him, meet everybody. You know what I'm saying? We Shaka King directing out. You know, Ryan Coogler, his wife Zinzi, Charles King of Macro. Charles King of Macro, all this be acknowledged too. That's because the Warner Macro was the other entity that with production of the movie alongside Warner Brothers, and there were certain intricacies, and I'll tell you about that too, about on the set, the stuff that had to happen that they played a key role with, and not to even mention the struggles, you know what I'm saying, Ryan Coogler, who I refer to as my nephew now, you know what I'm saying, this young visionary, you know what I'm saying, and the meetings that had to occur, not in the conventional definition of way, not, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, just with the Hollywood, in fact, as we set the house for 8 hours and some of the struggles we went through about the details, and I actually said, well, you know, we have to go to my main office and meet now. And everybody was inquisitive, like, where's that? The streets. That's my office, the streets. You know, we said we for the people. I work out 24 hours a day. So it's about in the morning. I literally asked them to Google. So Google in real time. Google. I said, ask Siri, Google, whatever you got to do. What's the worst neighborhood in Chicago right now? And at the time, like literally, 11 people were just murdered on Madison and Keeler, known as K-Town. And I said, that's where we going to meet at. And then, you know, where it's, the movie, they won't go for this. That's where we going to meet at. We went there, and right there on the spot, you can still see the blood residue on the ground. You can still, you know, the makeshift memorials. You know how people do, how people with the flowers, the teddy bears, so on and so forth. So I like this term that Richard Pryor, comedic genius Richard Pryor would use, peopleologist. So I'm studying their reaction. I'm studying the response. You know what I'm saying? You talking about portraying Chairman Fred and Deborah Johnson. These are some of the dynamics that what they pay attention to, you know. And I studied that. And we came back to the house. They had a good feeling, but we still, so it was still not all the way solid, you know what I'm saying? So on the set, we back and forth, you know, we had some struggles with some initial titles they had for the movie, some struggles with the script they had, you know, proposed. And back and forth, you know, and it was Ryan Coogler with the term, the cultural expert, me, myself, my mother, comrade to be. And I think about, and at first, you know, I said, you know, I rather the political thing, but I thought about, I look back in retrospect, when that term, cultural expert, it's a clip with Denzel Washington is with, I forget his other brother's name, it's a young sister, and he talks about culture, and they asked him a question about Steven Spielberg and Martin Scorsese.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and how he just is phenomenal. Because a lot of times people try to devalue our positions, whether we talk about the movie industry, we talk about food, whether we talk about relationships, to some reactionary, just simple, just this race question. But the dynamics of, I tell you, even people who speak like the news anchors, and even I'm really glad about this. One thing, I mean, not to switch lanes, but this era of time, or even these type of interviews, you know, like people say, what you think about the YouTube sensation? I said, you know, what's a pro in this? It's something where our people, you know what I'm saying, when we interview, how we can talk to each other on our own. You know, I think it's some foreign person who can't, even if they wanted to, can't relate to our terms, so on and so forth. So it's like Denzel, about the knowledge Denzel Washington gave about the culture. He said Martin Scorsese could have done Schindler's List, but and vice versa. You know, say one of the Godfather movies and so on and so forth. But it's a different culture. And I remember some struggles I had, you know, like on the set, on movie set. I was stressed, like different things that we say, you know, everything's political. Like there's a certain politics that goes to the Panther Party. And I remember one time one of the many occasions we had some struggles. I was using it may have been initially once I brought the question up about why it was disproportionate with the Panthers smoking cigarettes as opposed to other people. And I said, not to negate, they're saying the parties that was smoking cigarettes, but also you have to put in context of the time. That was a phenomenon. You have a generation now who's going to be seeing it, who a lot of them have never even seen people smoking cigarettes on TV. Mm-hmm. And someone else said, yeah, you're right. You know, you see, I was talking to Sev, you know what I'm saying, on set. And sometimes it's stuff that people are not even cognizant of. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
like,
sir.
Make sure it's equally distributed. Because, like, you know, we hear, like, similar to like in our community, we hear black on black crime. Average person think we the only ones have issues in the community. You don't think no other community have no contradiction. You know what I'm saying? But the way the disproportionate amount of scenes, you have to be cognizant of that. You know, and even the scene with Chairman Fred and Deborah Johnson, the kiss, the first. I'm struggling. Okay, make sure this person comes, so on and so forth. And unbeknownst to me, we have a discussion later on. Sister, matter of fact, who ironically she played Spurgeon Jake Winter's mother. She said there's a thing called production code. It was actual law in the movie industry to never show black people, our people, in a loving relationship. And so it's that we just take, well, that's just the way it is. No, it's a reason why, it's a reason why, chitlins are in our community. It's a reason why certain drugs, it's a purpose to that. And to go past the reactionary assessment, and to heighten the contradictions. I remember they said, Chairman, you always saying that. I was glad we felt to get that, even that term in the movie, to heighten the contradictions, because a lot of times we try to push it aside, like don't talk about, because it's embarrassing being oppressed. It's embarrassing. It's humbling. It hurts. It's you know what I'm saying? But then we have to acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? There's someone that's in control, even the type of drugs that are put into our community. You know what I'm saying? And that, depending on what policies, what administration, you know what I'm saying? Even now, you know what I'm saying, with the fentanyl, you know what I'm saying? These are remnants of under Bill Clinton's administration, the North American Free Trade Agreement, the NAFTA, the whole dynamic, the connection in Chicago. Why is it happening? So why the media never mentioned the cartel's presence in Chicago? Why the movie El Chapo was not allowed to be played in Chicago when Emmanuel was the mayor? These are why did J. Edgar Hoover deny the mafia even existed? These are different dynamics. The heightened the contradiction. So just even how you feel about it, but just even does not respond with elementary, grade school response. We are being hit with some university attack. You know what I'm saying? Some real deal attacks.
Excellent. Yes, sir. You teacher, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. And our brother from Chicago, Captain Waleed Muhammad, says, peace to my brother, Chairman Fred. My sister Naima says, teach. Calhoun Lamar says, fact. Protect his legacy. Protect your father's legacy at all costs. Doing a great job. We have a few more questions for you, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., but we have a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast this month.
Okay,
yes, sir. Do your thing. I want to thank everyone who continues to like, share, subscribe to the People's Podcast. My brother Rashad, Street Premier Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me, children's book and coloring book, and now Spanish book, all on Amazon. My sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country. Okay, here we go. Rod Communications. If you're working on a book and you need copy editing, project management, content development, and media relations. Also, Fashion Guys, Urban Streetwear sponsorships, 314-329-6009. Student Minister Robert L. Muhammad, conflict mediation, squashing the beef throughout the Southwest region. He does a phenomenal job. His wife, Sister Fudia Muhammad, children of the Most High, giving birth to a God in the science of child rearing. Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry's Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad, COVID-19 disinfecting cleaning services. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. And last but not least, my two books, Cleopatra's, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. We're coming right back to our brother, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. My goodness, with these sponsorships. All right. I want to thank everybody who continues to like, share, and subscribe to the People's Podcast. We getting love from people all across the country. Please let us know your questions and comments for our brother. And once we put this up on YouTube, we know that we're going to get, that's where our main people are going to be watching it at. Yes, sir. My next question is your mother. I can only imagine what it's like growing up, you know, with the absence of your father physically, but his spirit is still with us. But what is your what is your mother like? Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Okay, you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you now.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay. I said on a number of occasions, I feel fortunate to have fallen from the tree of two freedom fighters. Again, I feel fortunate to have fallen from the tree. Okay, my fault, brother. Okay,
yes,
can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Hold on a second. What about now? You good?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Pardon me. Okay, yes, pardon me. I've said on a number of occasions, I feel fortunate to have fallen from the tree of two freedom fighters. We refer to as Mother Comrade of Coon Jerry. She presently, amongst other hats she wears, resides on the advisory board of the Black Panther Party Cubs. Again, the advisory board of the Black Panther Party Cubs. That's something we don't take for granted, because, you know, like, even with the ruling class, they're like when they go to West Point, they're fortunate to have, they not only study the history of their trailblazers, whether it be Patton or whatever, they still the legacy of our trailblazers. They study Hannibal with the L formation. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
different
sir.
dynamics. So it's a lot of times, and even people with the Panther Party's legacy. So I go someplace. Where they get this reactionary assessment? In fact, one of the cats when I was early some years ago organizing, and I remember talking to this young brother, and I said, "Man, this cat I said, your version of the Panther Party, man. I said, you got this from a bad Shaft movie, man. You have no concept what the Black Panther Party was, you know." And for those younger people that listen to Shaft, Shaft, old movie, you know, so they're doing the era, those they call it the Black exploitation flicks, you know. But an advisory board, and it's something again to be able to trace that lineage from whence you come from. You know what I'm saying? That's something. So I'm fortunate to have her in that capacity. Fortunate to have, you know, she, you know, that was my first jail cell. You know, man, you know, and then when you in it, I think last time you missed his brother was interviewing, brother Cobb was interviewing her, and way he said it kind of threw us to put in context her birthday being November 28th. So if you keep in mind you, she just turned 19. It's turned 19. And then December the 4th, several days later, a few days later, assassination occurs. You know, you pregnant, then you locked up. You know, your husband, your comrade. In the movie Judas and Black Messiah, I don't know if I finished my answer with that. You asked me how I feel about it. Oh, let me just say this. One, a revolutionary is never satisfied. However, we were able to get a lot of Panther Cub political pills in the applesauce. No regrets. Their relationship to this day, it's that, you know, I just seen some of the pictures from my brother Daniel Kaluuya's new movies he's now with Jordan Peele called Nope. And you've seen the cast members, the sister with who did the wardrobe, and they still said Judas and the Black Messiah still, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to take away from the movie Nope that's coming. I don't want to take away from that either, but the relationship that we built, the struggles, you know, it's like, I'm telling you, and also it's something I told you, the dialogue a few weeks ago, and it's going to supersede, like, you know, even times, kind of seem like even like a certain community how they see the movie The Godfather. The Judas and Black Messiah, this movie, you know what I'm saying, it's an imprint. It was so many, you know, and it's a lot of pills we put in there that a lot of people say, damn, I missed that, you know. And in fact, we had a lot of struggles. But again, that movie was able to get more information than a lot of these bogus books that have been put out. You know what I'm saying? And man, people say, well, what about this? Why didn't you tell about this part about the channel? I said, you can't get everything in it. You can't put no shark in no fish tank. You know what I'm saying? It's you can't get everything in there. But just to answer your question again, it was man, a right on experience. You know what I'm saying? And the relationship we still have this day. Even back in kind of tied this in with the second question at hand. So my mother comrade as my jail cell. You know what I'm saying? Again, to be, and it's kind of to put this in context of what you were dealing with. There are war stories about sisters in the Panther Party, you know, so literally going through labor pains and still, you know, preparing the food for the free breakfast program. You know what I'm saying? Minister UEP News said his mother said a certain amount of suffering is good for the soul. And it's one thing just to be doing for your own, to going through something for your own personal, but to be a servant and to be afforded a period of time to be that. And I distinguish that, a servant, because a lot of times there's certain things that, you can want to do something, but it's the climate, it's premature. It doesn't fit. Like even with the movie, one of my concerns with the movie, mind you, the movie was shot before the pandemic, before the whole pandemic, the coronavirus, everything. And I remember saying, I don't know if these youngsters are going to be able to grasp the importance of something like a free breakfast program. They said, what do you mean? I say, this is a generation, their position was going to be like, well, just order Grubhub. You know what I'm saying? They're not to really understand the significance of that, you know? So it's certain things at the timing. But I think even with this, you know, with the coronavirus, with the pandemic, even the most apolitical people, the contradictions that have come out, how this system gets down, you know, certain conversations we can have, people can relate to, because man, this system is so American U.S. imperialism is so Machiavellian. You know, man, it dupes you. I mean, people still, you know, they can't believe, I can't believe the government done this. You know what I'm saying? But this is a conversation. Like it's a conversation that's happening now. That people can at least even I can even go. People still be scared to do so. I said, well, I can't go for that. But I acknowledge that. I prefer that as opposed to people denying that it's actually a war going down. You know what I'm saying? So the movie, the time, and everything. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm the relationship. I mean, it was a political powerhouse. The movie, yeah.
Okay, great. Yes, sir. Well, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., we have two more questions for you, sir. And thank you for your time. My next question is, sir, what do you do for fun?
I just come the other day. I was barbecue grill. Dog. I make a joke about the dogs. We have a certain breed of dogs at the Hampton House. We call it the Hampton House Hounds. Y'all see my shirts? They stay out of the Hampton House, you know. And the dogs, I say they give me stress and they stress relief. They say, Chairman, sometimes I get tired of dealing with y'all. I love my people. I say I'm gonna sound these dogs for a minute, just to break up for a minute, and that's you know, and they give me stress though, yeah, and but just and I also what's kind of what this whole saying, when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. This even the struggles. I mean, serving the people. I'm talking about just even through engaged in battle. I told them when I was here a captain, I was locked up. The Menard prison earlier, the blatant racism, it was so reactionary, so it was so obvious. It was like indulge your knife, indulge your brain. In Stateville, when I was there for a minute, it was this particular ward. He was like a Mayor Dayton. He was his name was George the Teller. He was so Machiavellian. He would do he would do tactics, and it kept me sharp. I remember he was so Machiavellian. He would do in war and struggle. You get to know not only yourself, you get to know other people too. You watch that. I remember I told his brother in the streets there was some one. I'm gonna go back to the prison thing in 1 minute. There were two of the street tribes, street organizations, like the people call gangs now, but the street we refer to the term street tribes. They were engaged in battle, and I remember this one brother. He seen the other guy. And he's like, man, you getting him. I say, you don't see the benefit in him with you, man? He said, what? He said, here you come with that black power stuff, man. I said, be cool. Bro. I said, you don't see the benefit in him. I say, this dude name is Rangan. I say, I watch y'all. I study all this, man. I say, this cat, I watch. I say, you miss certain things. When that cat rolled past, it's certain cats around you that supposed to be on your team. I seen them like fade away. I said, he tends to hurt for you. I say, imagine what them cats will do at the police station. That's supposed to be with you. You know what I'm saying? You need struggle. You know what I'm saying? You need, we say, Panther, contested conditions. Cause you ask him, I heard that champ. You say, hold on, where is the contested condition? And you need those contested conditions. And so even in battle, I was studying, in Stateville. Don't get it wrong, I'm not no masochist. I don't like, like looking for pain and nothing. But that whole dynamic of just engaging in it, theory and practice. In fact, like I tell people, one of my best cellmates I had when I was like, other than my mother to be. Another good cellmate I had was Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. I studied myself in isolation. I watched. I said, okay, how you gonna roll this hunger strike? You know what I'm saying? Those conditions, you get to learn who you are. A lot of people they go through certain. It's like the other day, but Love might tell you. I don't know if he was there. I had raise some issues with some youngsters who were coming to doing the cleanup at the Hampton House. And I was talking about the class and race privilege. Sometimes I say you got. So they had gloves to help do some moving, and this is all it was the class thing I was talking about. So little brothers, they had the glove, and so one of them came back. I came back. It's the third pair of gloves he wanted. I said, man, no, go find them same gloves you had. I said, I said, man, you just sometimes you got to be out there those conditions to know what I do, as opposed to 9 times we can spoil people whatever out of love. You know what I'm saying? The deal is the deal. We subjected to a system. That a lot of them young brothers and sisters, man. You can see them, and they've been in county jails. And they sobering up, man, and they looking. They like, they literally like for their parents, and it's mind blowing for them that this judge, now, this system has, a stranglehold on them, literally. You know what I'm saying? That's something that mama can't do. You know what I'm saying? In fact, I remember. I'm flashing back when I was in high school, and when they first had tried to take me to the county jail level, they first did. First, it was these young brothers had got to a fight with some other young brothers, and then they was sweating the young brothers at the school, asking them was I around. They say, well, was he around? They were trying to put my name in it, and I remember they called my name to the office, and I said, we usually go out the back door. I said, no, I said. To be honest with you, I had cut class that day. I wasn't even around. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't even around. And I came back and I said, man, Walter, and they took, and they kept on, me and the young brothers talk about this later on. They kept trying to tie me to this. And I remember calling my mother at her workplace. And I remember them, I remember now they had grabbed a phone and they had strategically tied this in right to, on my school records, on my school records would have marked me just turning 17. I really wasn't even turning 17 yet, though. I was still 16. And they had had planned this to get me right when I, you know what I'm saying, you better take me to jail. You know what I'm saying? And I remember then they said it, they grabbed a phone, say, no, he's going to jail, he's an adult now. And that dynamic. And see, if we don't tell, like I was one time at his barbershop and the brother walked past, he had his son with him. He said, oh man, I'm gonna say, I want to talk to you, brother. He said, man, so the son to go inside. He said, you know, my son, he kind of young, ain't one. I said, no, brother, please, bring him back out, man. I said, bring him back out, man. We can't, this ain't no conversation. See, like we talking about even like relationship, like, you know, like people say, you know, some people say, well, I want my daughter, my son ain't gonna never talk about sex. Oh, somebody gonna talk to him about it. I'm not gonna talk to him about. Well, I won't talk to them about the, you know, police killing. Somebody gonna. They gonna. You can look at some of them youngsters' face years ago. Even like little the video cam, you can see the shock and when the police do something to it. They was good. They had hit. People just say, "Don't talk about this." You know, like an old Southern secret. You know what I'm saying? In Nazi Germany, they say it's considered child abuse for you not to tell your child about the gas chambers in Nazi Germany. They say it's considered child abuse. For them, they say your child is not here about the gas. It's considered child abuse. It's a brother, Maywood, man, 52 years old. He went to go see the movie Judas and the Black Messiah with his wife, his parents, his children. He was telling his father what's going to happen. He said, watch this. He said, this is going to happen. Watch this. His father said, son, how do you know so much? How do you know all this going to happen? He said, I talked to his son, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. He said, he can't ask his father, why didn't I know? Why haven't we talked about this? He said, his father, tears come to his father's eyes. He said, son, we just wanted peace. See, you were fortunate, brother. You say your parents, you grew up, y'all talked about, about different things. December the 4th, 1969, the U.S. government assassinated Chairman Fred Defense Lamar Clark, comma, not period, comma. December the 5th, law enforcement came through the households of Maywood in particular, pulled black men and black boys out of their household in front of their wives and children, and told them there would never be another Fred Hampton.
Powerful, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's powerful. Okay, yes, sir. Now people showing you love all across the country. Now, okay, now 2 more questions for you, sir. Do you have? Did you ever want to have a Fred Hampton III?
You know, that's Tupac has said he didn't want no second class. He don't want to be no second class citizens in the world. And I was I think back. I was like of course, the son, you had that. I was just watching a movie recently. The guy said something like, ironically, it was some movie about, I think Little Richard, the son, and the father said, he said, man, I want my son to be, a father is forced for the son to do this, so on and so forth. I think back, I say, man, the attacks that cause, in this society in general, before we can go to being Fred Hampton, in general, I spoke at a funeral some years back. In fact, this was like a new discussion going on around social media. The murders happened on social media. There's like something happened on Facebook, and the little girl that got murdered. In fact, she's the granddaughter. She's granddaughter of Mickey Caldwell. People in Chicago know Chicago history. You know what I'm saying? Caldwell, a lot of people know about the Cobra Stones, so on and so forth. And young Mickey is the son, my childhood friend. I spoke at the funeral, and before I got at the funeral, a lot of the other pastors, they was going in on the children, like, man, y'all gotta stop doing blah. But I remember like Derrick Rose was there. Derrick Rose was there. I remember how he just came in, nonchalantly. You know, saying, you could tell he had a vibe with the people, man. And I said, I sympathize with you, to the youth. I sympathize with this youth of this generation. I sympathize. I said, man, this is right. This is right on the heels of Mayor Rahm Emanuel schools at one time. 50 public schools at one time. Then simultaneously, they shut the red line down, the trains. And now people say, well, they're gonna fix the train. They got technology. They can fix the train while we on them. You know what I'm saying? But all this, what happens, the conflict and what went down, how cold it was. And then his edict, when he first came in office, closed down all the mental health facilities in the Black community in particular. I said, and these children lack of, the structure, you know what I'm saying? So to grow up with this, I said, man, like one of America's policies is to create chaos and then restore order. Create chaos and then restore order. It's an old axiom that goes, God created Africans and America made niggas. We add on to that the marriage machine manufactures Chirac. It's done by design. And, they're talking about, like, even when you raise an orphan horse, the orphan horse is difficult to raise because you don't know where it come from. There's a case where a sister got murdered in Chicago, and I remember her last name being Hampton. And I recall talking to the siblings of the family. I was like, man, I said, what part of the South y'all come from? They didn't know. I said, we I don't know how you are, but a generation we know, like it was common. Okay, my people from such and such, Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? In fact, they make a joke about Chicago, so they number the Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? But that generation, I mean, so that's a concern I have. You know what I'm saying? And I think about there's so many things in my life for young Fred Hampton. I'm talking about. I was upset with some party members one time. It was a high school I went to, and I remember the principal how he would look at me. And I said, something different going on here. And later on, I talked to some party members, and they said, oh, yeah. We had took that school over for Black Studies program. I said, duh, I need to know this. I'm going, you know what I'm saying? I'm out here, and it's so many dynamics, you know what I'm saying? Like it's people, so I feel so fortunate, you know what I'm saying, man, to get information, and you know what I'm saying, but it was a lot of times you on the attacks don't even know it. People be, you know what I'm saying? I told the people sometimes, the prison situation, the same, I mean, it was guards in there, you know what I'm saying, that man, that was there when he was there, you know what I'm saying? And it was, and I mean, imagine going in not cognizant of that, you know what I'm saying? And this is a period of time, this is a bad stage, this is a bad time for good men and good women, bro. You know what I mean? It's so on one hand, you want to look at like legacies, to bring you in this firestorm, man, I'm glad you asked it. I said, man, you want it, but this is such a, man, you want the Chairman Mao Zedong said, if I move a grain of sand, he said, as an individual, I can't move mountains. If I move a grain of sand, my son moves a grain of sand, his son, vice versa, we can move mountains, but it's such a, even, you think, I mean, all of us, we talk about peer pressure as children, but even to be able to have a conversation, and I don't want to sound pessimistic, you know what I'm saying? Because I get some other day, matter of fact, Brother Love talked, he said, man, these young brothers, he said, I said, yeah, I know, I impacted them. These youngsters have been gone for years, and I knew as children, we had the Black Panther Party Club youth troops. I had my, one of them did an interview. He's into he's the young rappers now. His name is Third Eye, Isaiah and Mujahid. The interviewer, they was interviewing him on one of the popular podcasts with the youngsters, and it shocked me. He said, the guy asked him, what impacted you? He brought back memories of situations. He said, man, Chairman Fred would take us to the studio as youngsters, So it's certain, so even when you think that, you don't know who you impact and who you affect, you know what I'm saying? It's going to continue, man. But that's a rough, like this period of time. I mean, even white communities saying, have rough, they say it's as bad. Like there's some white people in California, they're suing TikTok and other social media apparatuses talking about they acknowledge it, the impact about even the numbers of suicide with their children. See, they flip the script on us and make it like in Nazi Germany, they say, okay, the SS created the ghettos. They flip the script, they tell us that we created the ghettos for us, though, you know what I'm saying? So just to acknowledge, that we under attack, that's why even in the movie, it was another one of the powerful points. To at least, a lot of people don't believe that we worthy of being targeted, that we worthy of being ain't nobody think about y'all. Why the government, Chairman Fred, before he was chairman, Fred Hampton's FBI file started when he was 13, 14 years old. They put a wiretap on my grandparents' telephone. The DC Bureau of FBI thought it was a typo. They went back to, they checking the typewriter. They said, man, you got the age. They said, no, this dude actually 14 years old. So it's a hell of a time though, man. Again, if this justice coming up now, man, we gonna fight. We gonna fight, man. But this a hell of, hell of a time.
Yes, sir. And people are showing you love. Thank you, Brother Damien. Thank everybody who's continuing to watch. I'm gonna put this on YouTube. My last question for you, sir, Brother Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. Once again, thank you again. This means a lot to myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast. What would you like your legacy to be, sir?
Let me answer that question. Let me say thank you, and also on my phone that I don't know if you had put out last week I was gonna be on. So people, y'all was on me. Forget, you know what I'm saying? We did last week. We got the movement, so again, we making up for it right now. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Your question was, but I heard you said, I heard legacy.
Yes, sir. What would you like your legacy to be, sir?
Let me preface with this: a legacy. We said legacy is more important than your life. A legacy is more important than your life. We have a certain amount of time with this physical shell of being, man. That legacy serves as a template, a prototype. You know what I'm saying? I just, right now as we speak, still out.
Yes, sir.
Can the phone down that question? Hold on. The phone down that question. 1 second. Let's charge on real quick. Okay. As we speak right now, I want to paraphrase. There was that saying again. Frank Sinatra said he did it his way. That we did it our way. And I mean, I don't say that because we like a lot of times it's a certain politic. I have people that we've organized with, even within our organization. They say they brought different skills in. And Minister European said to take the bourgeoisie skills and make them work in the interest of the masses. What makes it, we had some internal struggles some years ago. People want me to run for office. I said, no, I'm cool. I'm Chairman Fred. The people, the way even our mistakes belong to us. You know what I'm saying?
Sir. Yes, sir.
It's a different feeling that you have. You know what I'm saying? It's a different dynamic. There have been opportunity people come, saying like, a lot of times people say they're going to help you, a coalition bill. They're really saying they're going to co-opt you. They're going to control you. You know what I'm saying? I can see them leashes hanging out their hand. I'm like, nope, they ain't, nope, wrong. I don't bow wow. I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? That thing of self-determination. So we did it our way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a feeling. You know what I'm saying? Even the highs and lows. You know what I'm saying? So that we did it our way. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times you have people in organizations come to you like this indirectly getting back up on the massa. You know what I'm saying? Why would I go long distance and go get up under you to get up on the massa? Massa, right? As opposed to no self-determination. And of course, we don't have all the resources and the glimmer that the ruling class has, but it's a different dynamic. It's a different feeling. Brother Bishop Edgar Jackson, he used to have a church on 62nd and Justine. One time we came up, he seen us one time. He seen me get off the bus one time. And I never forget it. And we had been protesting. And other people around me, they were getting all these funds. They were getting, you know what I'm saying? And they get all the resources and stuff, And our people was like, why, Chairman, why you keep on doing this? Everybody else, they getting profit of what y'all be doing. And Bishop Jackson, he had seen the battle fatigue in my face. I didn't know it. You know what I'm saying? And because the other people, they rolled past, they had the cars, and I got the bus. And he said, Chairman, He said, I see you out there. He said, you gonna still do what you do. He said, but understand this: the lion in the zoo eats more regularly, routinely than the lion in the wild. They're gonna feed him more. He said, but the meat that the lion in the wild eats tastes different. Eats it on his own terms.
That's powerful. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Wonderful. But that's a positive note that we're gonna leave on. I want to thank you again. Thank everyone for watching. We're gonna put this on YouTube right now. This means a lot. I look forward to meeting you in person, sir. We got to make. I look forward.
I'm giving you official. You was gonna come back before then, but August 30th, the Chairman Fred Streets Party. Y'all go to SaveTheHamptonHouse.org. SaveTheHamptonHouse.org. I think we got the Chairman Fred Streets Party. That's streets with a Z. Z is in zebra. It's going down August 30th. Chico Bean for 85 South, we're going to be hosting. It's going down. We're going to be at the Chairman Fred Aquatic Center in Maywood, Illinois. We started up at the Monroe and West, the Chairman Fred Hampton Way. That's what we call it. We changed the name to that street. And the assassination occurred at 12 o'clock. Then we going to the Wall on Manhattan, California. Then we coming out to the Hampton House. We ride up on horses, cars, old schools, motorcycles. It's going down August 30th. So man, bring everybody, put the word out. It's going down. I think the website for Chairman Fred Streets Party is up. I know SaveTheHamptonHouse.org is up also. And whatever can people support, man, I got to throw this out there too. Whatever support they can, make sure they hit us at Chairman Fred Jr., Chairman Fred Jr. at gmail.com via PayPal. They can go to the donate button on Save the Hampton House, and I think also on Cash App, Save the Hampton House.
Yes, sir. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Let's continue to support our brother. Long live the spirit of Fred Hampton, Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. and your family, sir. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Thank you very much again, sir.
Thank you, brother.